here have heard of motivational interviewing? All right, great. We want to talk a little bit about why we think it's actually working, okay? Because there are some requirements. Whenever I do a lot of training around motivational interviewing, and I ask folks, do you use it? People always say yes, and I ask them, well, why does it work, or why does it not work? So what we want to talk about is what are the cognitive, the brain requirements in order to make motivational interviewing successful. So first thing we want to look at is what we all know. People respond better when they think they have come up with the idea. Right? You've all used that technique. You've used it on your spouses. You've used it on your bosses. I tell my team all the time, you want to manipulate me? Just make me think it was my idea. I'm easy. And that's what we do. When we present an idea that comes into the mind of the other person, and we let them think it's their idea, they tend to agree with it. Okay? Many of us in clinical work are assessing readiness to change. Okay? It's pretty much a standard when a new patient, new client comes in, we try to determine how ready are they to make the change that we or they or their loved one wants them to make. And those are the stages. The stage that's called denial. No, I don't have a problem. No, I don't drink too much. I don't gamble too much. You go to, maybe I do have a problem. Okay, I'm ready. Let's go. You can see, so we built in relapse. In our industry, in behavioral health, we pretty much, because the data is so strong, we pretty much have said invariably people will relapse. Okay? That's not the same in other parts of healthcare, but in our healthcare world, in behavioral health, we build in relapse. Okay? Now, I often read notes, chart notes. I often look at why did the patient elope, why did the AMA, and I'll say to the supervisor, ask your therapist, how did you use motivational interviewing to block that AMA? The therapist says, I tried to help the patient. I used MI to show the patient how important treatment is. I was showing the patient the pros and cons of staying in treatment. I was trying to convince the patient. Now, when I read these, and I see these a lot, I say, okay, this therapist is very well intended, trying to do a good job. They're kind of close, and they certainly have empathy, but this is not motivational interviewing. Okay, this is not. You look at this, it's the therapist doing all the work. I. Okay? Convincing, okay, pointing out, showing what you and I might think is so logical. Can't you see? It's better to sleep indoors than stick a needle in your neck and sleep under a bridge in a box. Okay, it's logical to us, but the addicted brain is not thinking in that way. Okay, so convincing is not motivational interviewing. Right? For those of us who are therapists, motivational interviewing is part of the process. It's not the therapy. It's not the therapy. What it's doing is, what you have to get is ambivalence. The person in an addiction, their brain has been what we call hijacked. They now believe the way their brain is processing triggers like alcohol is normal. That's their brain. Not because they're evil, they're moral, immoral, nothing like that. It's the brain. You need to get them to say, oh, wait a minute. Maybe this isn't right. Right? Now, oftentimes we say hitting bottom, but you know, it's not hitting bottom. What we want to achieve in the therapy, and for those of you guys who are working in the court system, it's really important. You want your client to be ambivalent. We want that ambivalence to come up. And in psychological terms, we call that cognitive dissonance. It's the experience of, and we saw this, right? How many people in West Virginia who voted for Trump didn't realize they were putting their Medicare at risk? Oh, that socialized medicine is terrible. I love my Medicare, though. Okay, Medicare is socialized medicine. Right? It's the same thing. Did you watch? I don't want to be too political. Did we watch recently? There was an interview with the president of Australia. And our president said, wow, you guys have a great healthcare system in Australia. What's it called? And the Australian president said, oh, it's called socialized medicine. Okay? The very thing that we say we don't want, we just because we want. So our goal in therapy is to bring up dissonance. You want your client to say, oh my gosh, I thought a needle in my neck was the best thing. You're telling me maybe sobriety is better? You want them to be confused. You want to strike that up. Now, for those of us who are therapists, now we're sitting with a patient who is confused, maybe argumentative. So it makes our job a little harder, perhaps, but that's where we want to go. We want to get them fired up, we want to get them a little confused, because the addicted brain doesn't think clearly. All right? Now, in therapy, if you're a therapist, if you're working for the court system, somebody, the judge who just left, or the person in this room who's writing a treatment plan, somebody is saying, you need to change. Change is needed. Sit back for a second. Think about how you deal with change. Little silly changes. Okay? Now, we're asking people to change their life. And we're writing treatment plan goals that says, Joe must increase this, and Mariella must decrease that. We're doing all of this, and we think it's really good because we invite the client into the process. That's what we're supposed to do. But the fact is, we're saying change is needed. For those of us who are trained in the old model, the theory was that if you give a person enough insight and self-awareness, that insight will produce change. Well, no. They'll realize, wow, sleeping under a bridge really is not too good. Well, we know insight is not enough. If insight was enough, there'd be no problems. We'd be aware. We know that in therapy, the relationship, we call it transference, the relationship when you're with your client in your office, that relationship is the most powerful change agent that there is. Okay, it's that relationship that's going to work. We know that change can be internal. I am sick and tired. It can be external. If you don't sober up, you will not see your grandchildren. The judge and the court system help us in the external world. Okay? But we also know that change requires certain cognitive skills. Okay? You need to have certain brain skills available to make a change. In motivational interviewing, these are pretty much the principles. We as clinicians, and even you guys in the court, you've got to be empathic. You've got to be empathic. It doesn't mean you agree. But at some point, if you cannot look at a patient who is dirty, unkempt, living in a box with a needle between his toes, if you can't look at that person and say, there for the grace of God go I, or if you cannot say, man, I can absolutely understand how a person can get into that. I can understand. I don't agree with it, but I can understand it. If you can't understand, then you don't belong working with people. Okay? Because we can train you with all the skills in the world, but empathy you can't train. Right? So you must be empathic. When we are in doing motivational interviewing, and a client, a patient says, no, I'm not doing that, I'm going to go out, and they resist, that's okay. We don't resist their resistance. We ask them questions about it. Well, tell me why. Tell me more about your decision not to blah, blah, blah. Right? we especially want to support self-efficacy. Now, this is important. How many of you work in either aftercare programs or discharge programs or post-care planning? Does anybody work in those situations? All right. Community-based programming got a bad rap for a long time. Nobody would pay for it. It was seen as kind of, adult babysitting. But the problem is, many of our clients come to us with very limited success stories. Limited education success, limited occupation success. So what we're trying to do, I know at Sovereign, we have a couple of our facilities where they go into a supported living arrangement because we got to help them re-engage the world. So anything that we're doing to support efficacy, self-efficacy, self-empowerment, basically, is really good. Okay, that's important. All right, so you're doing MI, you're doing motivational interviewing, and you know that the goal is to get ambivalence. Right now, they're very happy, they're fat, dumb, and happy, as my mom would say, in their misery, in their addiction. They love it. They're going to the casino 4 times a day. They're blowing the mortgage payment. They're very happy. We've got to get them to see, to feel, ooh, maybe that's not so good. A little ambivalence. So that's our goal. Now, when we take apart motivational interviewing, and you're doing it, it's important to understand these are the cognitive brain skills that are required. So if you're doing MI, motivational interviewing, and you're feeling stuck, one of the things you have to start to look at is, what are you really asking this patient to do? You're asking them to have perceptual accuracy, to see a situation clearly, all right, and to interpret it clearly. Okay, so if you, they're walking down the street and they see a cop on the other side of the street and they all of a sudden start to melt down. That's a perceptual inaccuracy. Doesn't mean they haven't been abused by a cop, but it means that that situation is not abusive, but they're believing it as though it is. They've got to be able to understand cause and effect. So I was working with a client back east, and I said to him, how did you get to this situation? He was court referred. And he said, well, I went home, and I got my paycheck, and I went to the liquor store, and we were doing the DBT chaining, store chaining, and I went to the liquor store, and I passed my check, went to the liquor store, 1/5, got in the car, drove the car, crashed into a tree, and got arrested. Okay? So I said to him, well, where could you have intervened? Where could you have stopped that process? And he could not link. He could do the links, the chains individually, but he couldn't see. So I said, well, so why are you here? He said, well, the cop arrested me. He could have let me go. And that was his understanding of cause and effect. He was in my office because of the cop, not because of the 5 steps he did before the cop. Okay? So again, cause and effect is required in motivational interviewing. Cognitive flexibility, the ability to generate a new behavior. So if you say to somebody, Al, you go to the bar every night after work. That's your brain. That's a rut in your brain. It's a neuron pattern. Your brain knows, whistle blows, 5 o'clock, it's bar time. Okay, so to be able to create a new pattern. I'll give you an example. How many of you guys go to the food shop? I go to a supermarket. I know if I was starving, you're not going to food, but right. So when you go in, you have your little cart, and the doors open, right? Which way do you turn, left or right, or go straight? Left. Right. Vast majority of the world goes right. Advertising and marketing people, they know that. The stores are arranged that way. What you should do next time, you have a lot of time on your hands, go straight. Whatever the aisle is, just go straight. It will take you 3 times longer to food shop, because you will not know where the peas are. You won't know where the Lysol is. And the Fabuloso will be gone. It's all there. Your brain just doesn't know where it is, because you're creating a new pathway. Then you go straight, Then you come to the end of the aisle, and there's probably going to be what? What's always at the end? Something refrigerated, right? You know, meat, cheese, fruit, vegetables. Your brain will now have to make another decision. Do I go right and circle back around the supermarket? Or do I go left and circle back around? You're going to be training your brain to do a very simple task differently. You will now have a new normal circuit. Your brain will now learn something new. And that's all this is. This is all about brain patterning, creating new circuitry. That is cognitive flexibility. That's what folks in an addiction have a difficult time with. Consequential thinking, the ability to predict results. Hey pal, if you drink that fifth and crash into a tree, you might get in trouble. Even if they can do that, there's another part of the brain that responds to in fear of punishment. And the brain of an alcoholic, the person who has an alcohol disorder, that part of the brain actually kind of starts to atrophy. The fear of punishment goes away, okay, along with the disinhibition. So now I've got somebody who's very aggressive, no control, and you know what? They don't care. Right? It's a pretty wild combination when you start to see what is actually going on in the brain level. I think the most important piece of this is visioning. When you have a person, you know, again, most of us aren't dealing with individuals who just got into an addiction. Most of the people we know have been in an addiction for a long time. You ask them, well, you know, when you were 7 years old, were you thinking, you know, that did you want to be a drug addict? What did you want to be? Cop, fireman, football player, chef, mom, dad? Did you want to be an addict? Nobody ever says they wanted to be an addict. Never say that. They always have some kind of little fantasy. When you ask them now, at 30 years old, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? You ask them to create a new future. It's very, very difficult. Okay? But until they can do that, their brain pattern will not change. So if you're a therapist or if you're working in the court, you need to start using words for change. You know, go to your thesaurus, Google all the synonyms you can think of for change. Because that's asking the brain to think outside of the rut, outside of the pathway that's already been established. See, the thing that we need to give our clients and patients some credit, they're very successful because they're still alive. These are not the ones who have died. So we have some patients and clients who have succeeded at being an addict, if you will, at being a person in an addiction. Our task is to help them see there's a different kind of life out there available. Okay? But when I do visioning, I ask them, tell me where you want to be in 5 years. They say, 5 years? I say, tell me where you want to be in a year. How about next month? How about later on this afternoon? You know, and do all your senses. What will it smell like where you are? What will you be hearing? What will you be seeing? What will you be sitting? Is it soft? Is it cold? You know, do all the senses to get them to think a little bit differently. That's probably the most important piece of motivational interviewing for me, is the visioning. Again, just to keep in mind, we are in the old Rogerian, Carl Rogers, we are unconditional acceptors, not approvers, but acceptors. Our role in motivational interviewing is very active if you're a therapist or a clinician. We model and we elicit change talk. So when a patient client is telling you all about, you know, their story, their history, what they're doing, you want to ask them, what could you do differently? And they'll say, I don't know. You know, but you've used the word different, you've used the word change. Their brain now has to think. I will tell you, you know, a couple little things. When you're working with a client, ask them the last time they felt joy. Don't say happy, because if you say happy, it's going to give you a brain what response? It's going to give you a brain automatic response. If a guy hears the word joy, he won't know what to do with it. Joy? I don't feel joy, it's joy. But stick with it, because you're teaching the brain to start to think differently. brain's hearing a new word, and it's like, where's that word go? Right? But ask them that question, and sometimes they'll tell you, well, I feel great when I stick that needle right now. And then you say, well, all right, aside from the drug use, before you started using drugs, when was the last time you felt joy? And it'll give you a sense of how far back this brain pattern goes. Okay? Usually it's fairly long. You know, they'll say, oh, I haven't felt happy or joyful, you know, since I was a kid. And you say, well, how old were you when you were a kid? You know, it's a pretty interesting question to ask them. Right? Real quick, the brain. What is happening in the brain? Those are the 5 primary areas of the brain that get affected by drug and alcohol abuse. The brainstem, the cortex, the limbic system, the cerebellum, and the hypothalamus. Now, the cortex is the front part of the brain that's involved mostly in your higher order of thinking. It's the part of the brain that got you through school. Okay? It's the part of the brain that helps you keep it together when you're disagreeing or arguing, but you're not exploding. Okay? So it's really your problem-solving area, your decision-making area. There's some muscle movement, but mostly thinking. What we consider thinking. Okay? This is, I can make this whole presentation, but that's kind of a neat thing to have. It just shows you all the parts of the cerebral cortex. You can see, you got everything from the temporal lobes, which is your hearing processing, to your vision, and a lot of things going on in the cerebral cortex. This is not something we want to monkey around with. We don't want to start getting this affected by alcohol. Okay? So what happens, and I'll think about the last time you saw somebody, or hopefully it wasn't you, but somebody, kind of trashed at a bar. What's going on? All right. Thoughts getting impaired, bad judgments, decisions are made. This is where people get that bravado. Their inhibition decreases, but they talk more. So they're talking stupid stuff. Okay, they're talking more, and they have no inhibition. You say, you can't say that. Oh, so that's the brain. Okay? This is why people in bars come out bloody. Their threshold for pain decreases. Oh, I can do that. Oh! You've seen guys in movies, run up to a wall and start to punch a brick wall. Their threshold for pain goes down. As the blood alcohol content increases, these things get worse. So just think about, what you're dealing with, okay? Somebody who doesn't have, losing their ability to control themselves and won't shut up. And he's got much more bravado. Hold on to that, because we're going to get back to that one in a second. See that. There's another part of the brain, and I don't think it's on here, that in addition to not shutting up, losing your inhibition, okay, becoming very arrogant, bravado, sexual desire increases, sexual performance decreases. And it's one of the things that we're starting to see in the judgment here, you kind of understand, this is kind of the nature of some alcohol-related sexual assault. You've got somebody who is very physically aggressive, the libido increases, but the ability to perform decreases. So you've got a lot of frustration on that. Okay? It's not, and again, I share this with you because it's not a very healthy situation to be in. It's like you're a parent or a daughter, in particular, you want to be aware that this is why you don't want your kids running around bars, kind of uncontrolled, if you will. Right? Can we get back up to the middle? So what I'm looking at, this is kind of like some of my own stuff. Trying to figure out, the brain stem is the area of the brain that keeps us alive, our pulse, our heart rate, okay? Is there anything that DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, can do? Is there anything that motivational interviewing can do? So we know that heart rate and pulse respond to mindfulness. So this is just a little chart that shows you the part of the brain, the functions, okay, so sensory perception, thinking, planning, social judgment, impulse inhibition. This is the part of the brain that stops you from hitting somebody or having road rage, okay? That's the cerebral cortex. What can DBT or MI do to help in this area? Okay, so that's kind of what I just wanted to share with you, because if you're working with motivational interviewing, you can see that for substance abuse, it will help with these 3 areas. MI will help with these 4 areas if you have somebody who has borderline personality disorder. Okay, this is a lot. We can get you this table. Kind of helpful for you. The limbic system. The limbic system is the part of the brain where the emotions live. And it's the part of the brain where the amygdala is. Throw these words out at you. Hopefully some of them are familiar with you. Right? The emotions are brain behaviors. Okay? Many of us grew up thinking that we have a brain and we have feelings. And they're kind of related, but not really. Now, emotions live in the brain. They come from the brain. Right? Feelings come from the brain. Everything we have comes from the brain. Okay? With motivational interviewing, we want to follow these steps, because what we're going to try to do is change some of the feelings about the addiction. Okay? We don't want them to feel comfortable in their addiction. That's not our goal. It's not working for them. So what do we do when we use motivational interviewing? We ask permission. So many therapists, you guys who are reading court reports, what you're supposed to do, what's good practice, is to say, do you mind if we talk about this? How about if we talk about this? I noticed that you wrote you have diabetes and hypertension on your intake. Let's talk a little bit about that. You always want to ask permission and simply respectful, right? Even though everybody knows that if they say no, there's going to be some kind of a result, you just want to be respectful. You ask open-ended questions. You never ask a yes-no question. You never ask, how are you feeling? Because that's a brain response. It's an automatic response. You ask, what are you feeling? That's a phrase that's like, huh? What does that mean? Makes them stop for a second. Puts the brakes on that automatic response. You want to start to talk about change. What would life be like if you didn't have a needle in your neck and stuck under a bridge in a box? Okay? You want to use reflective listening. How many people here use reflective listening? All your hands should go up, and then I should say, what is reflective listening? What's reflective listening? Okay, that's tape recording. It's part 1 of reflective listening, though. You need that. Reflective listening is exactly what the gentleman said. You repeat what they said, but what can you also state? The affect under the statement. When you do reflective listening, you are not only hearing the words, you're able to summarize the feelings. That's what reflective listening is. And we all learn that somewhere, but we forget the feeling part of it. It's the ability to hear, used to call it in the old days, hearing, listening with the third ear. Listening to the feeling, okay? Normalizing. You want to say, I can understand how you got to this point. And if you can't do that, if you cannot understand how a person's life could get into this position, then you're in the wrong industry. Because you've got to be able to do that. Because again, many of us who've gone through the challenges of the Great Recession know that we're all eventually vulnerable at some point. Okay? So you've got to be able to be empathic. Talk about change. We evoke change through empathy. We're understanding their experience. We futurize and create the future, help them create the future. And then sometimes when we're really stuck, we do this therapy paradox, which I don't know if you guys about that. All right. We'll just talk about, you got to do this. It's just basic respect. He knows, she knows he's in your office and you're going to fire questions at him. Do it anyway. It's just basic manners. Okay? Very important. Tell me what you like about your porn addiction. I'm talking porn addiction. Tell me what you like about watching porn 6 hours a day. Tell me what you like about gambling every night at the casino. It might be the bells and the sights and the vision, the stimulation. You don't know. You don't know, so don't assume you know, right? Tell me what you like about, hoarding, saving all these items that you value. Okay? You've got to understand what's in it for them. It's quite, I think, disrespectful and arrogant for us to assume that what they're doing has no benefit. Because it does have a benefit for them. Okay? You're looking for feeling words. When they say, oh, I love saving these things. They're my mom's. They're very important. Go right to the love. I really feel relaxed, when I'm at the casino. Go for relaxed. It's relaxing enough. Right? We want to ask, what's happened since last time we all met? You guys, in the course system especially, this is important. And hopefully, you're going to get some accuracy from them. Hopefully they're not going to be, BSing you or lying or, telling falsehoods as you go. Okay. When they come in here, into your office, we ask, what brought you here? The judge, my wife, my husband. What makes you think it might be time for a change? I know. I love what I'm doing. Do you? Tell me about that. Tell me what you love. What are you talking about, first of all? You love being hungover every day. What do you love about that? Okay? Because again, there's something in there. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. We're not judging it. We're just trying to understand. Okay? This is very important. What happens when you spend 4 nights a week in a bar? And listen to the answer. The answer is only about his or her hangover and has no relation to what the rest of his little world is doing. He or she doesn't see that their spouse or their kid is missing them. Okay, that's almost part of the definition of an addiction. When I start to sacrifice other valuable relationships to the substance. And you really want to get into that. Can they see that others suffer or feel that loss? If they've ever been sober or abstinent, how did you pull out? What were you doing that helped support you from not using? And then, of course, the question I'm hoping we all ask is, tell me the first time. What were the circumstances surrounding the first time you used or engaged in that behavior? And that's always telling. Okay, sometimes that's where you get some trauma history revealed. Okay? What's different about quitting this time? And invariably, it's either going to be I'm sick and tired, being sick and tired, or there's an external motivator. I want to see my grandkids. I don't want to lose my marriage. I'm getting a paycheck and that's at risk. Okay? Now, many of us were taught years ago, you need to practice yourself saying, it sounds like you're saying, because it sounds corny sometimes, it sounds like a movie script. So I remember being taught, there's like 5 things that every therapist should be comfortable saying, and one of them is, it sounds like you. So you got to practice, you got to be comfortable saying that, because that's where you're going to get reflective listening. Am I hearing you say that you're feeling very lonely, and that's why you go to the casino? Okay? Right? We want to start getting them to see a change. So motivational interviewing is to see, if you had to do something differently today, what would it be? If you wanted to make a change in your life, what change would you make? And how would your life be different today? You've got to go in that direction. We have a special program for men in their 50s and 60s. And the whole idea is to help them make changes so that they can save the last part of their experience for the next 20 or 30 years before they die can be much more positive. So it's all about helping them create a new future, even though they're past the future buildings home. Okay? So that's what you want to do. You got to get to this point. You know? You got to get to the point where you're helping them see that there is still a future. The best is yet to come. There's still something out there. Okay, that's our goal with motivational interviewing. Okay? All right. When they throw up a defense, you got to normalize it. Okay? I can see how you feel positive about the feelings you get from injecting drugs into your skin. I understand that. Well, let's talk about what would life be like without that drug. Okay? What would you feel if you were not gambling? And invariably, people are going to feel bored, they're going to feel lonely, they're going to feel disconnected. Okay? There's a lot of research. I went to a conference recently in San Francisco where the psychiatrist came out and said, my talk is actually one sentence. There's no such thing as a happy addict. Every person in the nation has some happiness or sadness. And that's what will be revealed. Okay? So most of us have had sadness in our lives. Some of us have chosen to medicate in X way, and B way, and A way, and D way. We all code. Okay? So what we want to be able to do is say to them, what would you be feeling? If you weren't at that casino every day, every night. Or if you weren't watching internet porn 5 hours a day. Or if you weren't, even healthy addictions, right? If you weren't at the gym, 7 hours a day or 7 days a week and neglecting your family. But people, you've got to get up to that feeling level. Okay? Whenever a patient says, or a client says that they tried to quit before and they failed, you always tell them, that's okay. That's okay. Most folks have tried and report that they've had several previous attempts and failures, and they keep on trying. Okay? When you talk about folks who want to quit smoking or some kind of behavior, they always worry about gaining weight. If I stop going to the casino, I'm going to overeat. And you say, okay, yeah, I understand that. A lot of people, that's a very common concern. It's a very common concern. All right. 2 important questions you've got to ask. If you don't change, what's the worst thing that might happen? And hopefully they're going to say, I could die. Okay? Hopefully they understand the extremity of their behavior. Okay? And then I would back off from that, and I would say, okay, what's the next worst thing? I'll lose my marriage. The next, I'll lose access to my children. And then, you want to create a hierarchy of loss. Okay? And then when you have your hierarchy from death to wife or husband, to kids, to job, to house, and you keep them going down lower, you say to them, where do you want to stop? Which one of these losses is where you want to stop? You want to trade in your wife for your kids? Which one would you rather see? How about your job? Suppose you trade in your wife, get rid of her, but you get to keep the job. Is that okay? Oh, you like the job pays more than the wife? All right, keep the job. Why are you doing this? You're scrambling their brain, their thought processes. You're getting them to think outside of their rut. Right? What's the best thing you can imagine? And this is really important because this is what they don't do. They don't do it. They don't compare and contrast. They don't say, wow, wait, you mean if I got sober, I could actually live a life like this? You mean, and I will tell you, it is very, if you deal with people who are either sex addicts or gambling addicts, it is very hard. It is very, very hard to get them to understand that the dopamine that a sexual addiction or a gambling addiction produces, it's very hard to give that up and go home to that same spouse night after night after night. Very, very difficult. And that's because of the brain. Right? So when you think about this for a second, when you ask, you ever do family therapy or couples therapy, you ask a non-abusing spouse, Joe, Mary's a gambling addict. Joe, how's your sex life? He's going to say, oh, you kidding me? We don't have sex. We haven't had sex in a long time. And it's because the addiction produces like 1,000 times more dopamine than a normal, previously enjoyed activity like sex or going to a ball game or walking on the beach. Normal activities can't compete with cocaine or most drugs. They just don't produce as much dopamine. So what happens, with sexual addiction in particular, when you wean people off of porn and you start to replace porn with a live human being, usually their spouse or their girlfriend or their boyfriend, wow, wait, it's not always that same rush. And it can't be. It's just the way the brain processes the stimulation. Okay? So what you're asking people to do is give up this gigantic rush of dopamine and replace it with something that most of us kind of like. Most of us like, a good time with the person that we love. Most of us, that's okay. And you tell you're usually, if you're working with a person in an addiction, you say, yeah, man, every night's not New Year's Eve. Most of life is pretty dull. We all just kind of schlep by and have a little medium happiness here, sadness there, but, chasing that high, most of us don't do that. Most of us just getting by. That's kind of the way it is. Okay? These are all questions about reflecting on yourself. What would you like to see different, John? What makes you think you need to change? And you see that now we're using the change, different, okay? We're starting to introduce different because the word change and the word different is now creating a new pathway in your brain. Right? Just like when you went food shopping down a different aisle. It's the same exact thing. It's a new pathway in the brain. Okay? Again, you're visioning now, you're starting to vision. Alright? It would be good if you gave up internet porn. Invariably, people will say, I'd be able to relate to another human being. My marriage would improve. It would be good if you gave up gambling. You might have more money to spend on things that are more meaningful, perhaps. You start to ask them, what would your life be like in 3 years, 2 years, 1 year? All right? And this is pretty cool. Again, if you've ever come through a process addiction or worked with somebody, process addictions meaning things like eating, sex, internet porn, and you actually work with them through it, it's remarkable how much better they feel. When they were watching 6 hours of porn and then sneaking into bed while their wife was already asleep. And you ask them now what you do, and they actually, can cuddle and hang out with their wife. It's so refreshing. It's really cool. You ask them a little bit about, as you're starting to do change, how do you think others are worrying about you? Can they empathize with somebody else? Have they been able to do that? When you're with them and you see their stuff, you've got to ask them, again, anybody working with a client, how can I help you? I think I hear you say this is frustrating. Is that correct? Okay, reflect the listener. How can I help you get past some of these difficulties? What can I do for you? but with you. Okay? If you decided to change, what would you have to do to make this happen? Now, this is going to go right back to their sense of confidence. So many of our clients come to us where the last time they were successful in school was like the third grade, right? And they don't have a track record of much success. So that's why these community reintegration programs, a lot of community-based programs are so valuable. Because they're really teaching people things that they could have or should have or would have learned many, many years ago. So these are pretty good programs, actually. And I love what would it be like if, how would life be different if, and then, when was the last time you were, joyful? Anticipating happiness, kind of positive, optimistic. When was the last time you were optimistic about your future? Ask that of somebody who sticks a needle in their neck 3 times a day. Okay? Ask them that question. You've got to get that. You've got to ask these questions. See, part of the problem in our therapy, in our work, is we cut right to the answer. We already have the answer. You need to blah, blah, blah. That's never going to work. That is never going to work. It just won't work. You've got to get them to that. You've got to get them to say, I need to blah, 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 blah. Okay? Now, that's why you ask this question. Now, it's a very powerful question. When was the last time you felt joy? Right. I don't know what you know. So, we have a time? Does anybody want to do motivational interviewing? Be a clinician or a patient? No? Everybody want to be a patient? How's that? Yeah. So you guys have an issue. You have an issue? Sergio. Okay, Sergio. So, Sergio, what brings you into the office today?
To learn something that I don't know.
Yeah, Jim. Yeah. So you're in the office today. Who sent you here? The supervisor. Are you concerned about something?
He's concerned in doing one.
Oh, okay. And is he concerned that somehow you said that you might be a gambler?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And what concern does your supervisor have about your gambling?
Well, I haven't been back.
Okay. You owe a lot?
A little bit.
Okay. I asked, do you owe him a lot? And it was a bad question. What should I have asked? How much? Right? Because I got a sly answer. Yeah. How much do you owe? Wow, 200. Okay. And can you tell me about how you got into debt for $200?
I've been picking up on the slot machine.
You play the slots?
Yeah.
How frequently?
Once a week. 2 times.
Times a week? And you're in debt for a couple $100?
Yeah, but I win sometimes.
You win. Do you like when you win?
I like to get more stimulating.
Do you like that stimulation? There are a lot of people like that. Yeah.
So I love winning those days.
Do you? How often do you go to Vegas?
Once a week.
That's not that frequently, huh? Okay. And is there something else that has, I guess, brought you into the office? Because as I'm hearing it, you seem to like gambling. You're in debt for a couple $100. Is there something else that's going on that is interfering with paying back the $200?
I started using credit cards and sometimes. So I think when I get a big one, I'm paying all off at once.
Oh, okay. Are you a credit card debt too?
A little bit.
A little bit. How much?
Around 1,000.
So we have 200 plus 1,000.
It's not that bad, is it?
Stuff like that, so no, I'll get to that. What do you think?
Well, I pay my credit cards.
You pay your credit card, but you're still carrying $1,000 balance. Okay, so how much are you able to pay?
I'm 15 weeks.
50. Okay, so it's going to take you some time to get that $1,000 back.
No, that'll pay off soon.
Okay.
As long as you give me your 2,000.
Okay. So is there anything that maybe you don't do that you would like to do because of that debt?
Well, I guess if I get rid of the credit card, I wouldn't have to use it again.
Is that a goal for you? Would you like to do that?
It would be.
Yeah.
Whether I can do it or not, I don't know. I have to make more money.
So what stops you from paying off that debt?
I'm sure.
Not sure. Is it something you've thought about?
Not really.
No?
I always have to pay it off in a year.
How's that going for you?
That's what we live over.
Is it?
As long as I don't fall behind.
Okay. So you're kind of treading water right now.
No way.
Yeah.
I guess as long as I don't want to use it.
How will we know that you're going to use it?
Like that in the credit card.
Okay. Is that something that you consider?
I've considered, but I've never done it.
So it's you're thinking about it. What stops you from paying it off?
Thinking I might need it again.
Oh.
It's there. It's a security blanket.
Oh. It's a security blanket that seems like it's not very comfortable blanket though.
Well, it keeps me out of trouble when I have to pay somebody off.
Why have you paid this other fellow off for $200?
No, I haven't given anything.
You see a little confusion here? Good. All right, so thank you, sir. So what we wanted to do, the entire goal was just that last part. Can you see a little confusion here? And we simply wanted Sergio to kind of, because he was kind of hard one to crack over there. He was fairly content. $1,200 a day, it's not that bad, but eventually he was able to say, maybe it would be better to get rid of this debt altogether. And that's all motivational interviewing is. And then we would explore that, and we would do the cognitive behavioral therapy, the contracting, all that kind of stuff, all those other kind of works, different techniques we use, all that. Okay. Any questions before we roll?
Is there any books on this topic, sir, that I might be able to read?
Oh yeah, motivational interviewing?
Yes.
Oh sure, just Google motivational interviewing. Yeah, you Google, I will, can you just take down this name? h.wright@solvehealth.com, and we can get you some information on that. Okay, but if you Google motivational interviewing, you'll see some textbooks on it. You'll see YouTube videos on it. It's really, really important. This is kind of was developed for use with addictions. It's definitely so when you Google it, you'll see that the author really wanted it to be used for folks who have an addiction to addiction. But it's based on the brain's ability to change, to create new habits. So we talk about food shopping. Let me give you another little thing. Next time you go home and you're going to write out a bill or a card, take out your iPhone and put it on your timer, your stopwatch. Write your bill out, and then when you go to write your return address, write it from the upper left to the lower right, and time yourself. And look at it. You say, okay, wow, I have a nice handwriting. It took me 4 seconds to write my return address. Then take out another bill or card. This time you write your return address from the lower right to the upper left. You start with your zip code, go to your state, go to your city, go to your street, and write it backwards. And then time yourself and look at the quality of it. And what you'll see is that there's no lines on the envelope especially. You'll see your letters are scrunched, might be up and down, your spatial planning was not perfect. If you do that over time, repeatedly, from the lower right to the upper left, it'll eventually look as good as your original one, because you will have trained your brain to go in a different pathway. And that's all we do in therapy. Okay, that's our goal in therapy, is to train the brain to process information differently. That's all we're doing. We're creating new pathways. Just like when you go food shopping and you go straight instead of to the right. It's a new pathway. All this stuff exists in the brain. So, any other questions, comments, observations that you would like to share? All right, cool. Yes, sir.
How about if you do have a client on the onset and they're just not cooperating? What approach would you use? Obviously, this may not be working at the onset. What can we do to, I guess, break the ice?
I mean, I would go with anything. So if you say, if he's stonewalling you, say nothing, you say, well, Joe, why are you here?